Hopefully it should swing a little more level now. Boom. The eagle has landed. Yeah, it's the more I look, the worse it gets kind of a situation. Is all, well, most of the metal that I'm gonna need to make this whole again. Welcome back to another episode of Cody Builds. On today's episode, we're gonna be fixing our cab issue. If you watched last week's episode, you know this cab is super rotten and it's kind of sketchy on the dolly the way it's set up right now. So I've got things set up for us to re-brace up this cab, get it a little bit safer on the dolly so we can resume working on the cab. So let's take a look at what I got going and what I'm gonna do to fix this problem. A couple weeks ago, you saw this contraption. I was hoping I wasn't gonna have to use this for a month or so, but here we are. So I'm glad I built it. When you're a one-man band, you gotta do what you gotta do to make things happen. And this is one of those things. This actually works pretty well. I've already lifted the cab 2 or 3 different times since I've had it on there. I wanted to make a little bit better video about actually assembling this, but there's really not much to it, guys. If you have questions, drop them in the comments down below. The night that I built this, it was already like midnight when I put it together, and I was running out of steam, so I just kind of plowed through that video. Anyways, the first thing I'm gonna do, we're gonna slide this into place. We're gonna lift up the cab, and I'm gonna take some measurements. I've got some 2x4s over there that we're gonna use to brace the front of this cab up. So let's get this thing jacked up and let's take some measurements. So one thing I have changed slightly since the first videos, I had these pins in here to keep this thing from rotating counterclockwise. I kept the top one in. That's gonna keep this thing from tilting back. But I threw a chain around this eyelet, and that's what's gonna grab and keep this from tilting forward. I like that system a little bit better. It seemed a little safer than the other, than just the bolt in there. So we're gonna slide this thing into place. And again, when I do this, I'm not really gonna move, I don't plan to move the cherry picker in the cab much. I've seen videos of guys doing it with similar setups. I would probably want something a little bit sturdier than this wood setup for that. This is perfectly fine for lifting the cab. So let's get her lifted up here. And there we go. I think we got all the weight off the dolly, or close. Okay, yeah, so we're swinging free now. See, I got the dolly's loose. So the plan here is I'm gonna slide this dolly forward. I'm gonna run a 2x4 under the cowl here, and then we're gonna run some braces down to the dolly itself. We'll screw all that stuff in. If we need to run some cross braces or something, we can do that as well. So what I need to do first is figure out how long I want this upper 2x4, which looks like 2 foot, because I've got the pedal box bracing here. And then off of the cab, I'm gonna actually set the cab just on the back braces so I can start to figure out where level's at and how high the uprights need to be. So I'm gonna make these 32 inches because I'd like to have it just a hair higher than what it is. It's at about 31 now. So the top of this 2x4 is gonna be at 32 inches. And that's gonna put the floorboards and the rockers just above the dolly itself, which should give me a little bit of room to work, cut those out, and not to worry about cutting into the dolly itself. So let's cut up some wood. Let's frame something up and see how this goes. All right, I got the basics of this brace ready to go onto the dolly. I'm gonna jack the cab up just a little bit here. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit of room to work. Okay. Now, we'll take this brace around to the front of the cab here. And I'm gonna take this brace, I'm gonna bring it up flush with the bottom of the dolly of the crossbar, and then we'll get it up into place, and then I'll probably try and gently set this thing down. I think I'm gonna end up having to brace from the back of the uprights back to these cross members. So that's probably what I'll end up doing, but I'm gonna get you guys up on the tripod and we're gonna get this thing assembled. I should probably measure where center is. I can get pretty close with my cross braces because my cross braces are centered. So yeah, it should be just on the inside of those actually, it looks like. Come back. I'm actually gonna grab a couple C-clamps to help me out here. Okay. Not my final position yet. I just want to get a clamp in there started. You can see I'm way off center right at the moment. Just snug this up. Okay. All right, so we got to move this whole thing over just a hair. Looks like it's centered about there. Okay, flush there, flush there. Okay, you can start to see how this is going to look. These are basically the equivalent of 3/8 lag screws. Those are more than strong enough. That's what we assembled the dolly with. So yeah, because this sits up so high, I think I'm going to have to brace this back. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of flex in it. So I'm going to go ahead. And it looks like if I come on the inside here, I can get a pretty good sized brace across there. Yeah, I'm gonna cut 28-inch braces, 2 of them. All right, kind of annoyingly, I don't have a ton of hardware here, screws wise, so we're just gonna use a hodgepodge of screws, what I got. And we're gonna run this brace. I don't want it to interfere with anything here, which it looks like we got about 2 inches. So if I give myself 2 inches of clearance, we should be good about right there. So I'm just gonna mark that line there real quick. Take a measurement here. Like 10 1/4 to the inside. Okay, now I'm going to pre-drill a hole. I don't want this wood splitting on me, so we're pre-drilling everything. It can be a pain, I know, but if you pre-drill, save yourself a lot of headaches. Okay, left me a little mark there that I can work off of. I have just the tip of the screw sticking out to align with the hole I just pre-drilled. Okay. Now I'm just going to pre-drill a few holes in the back, throw a couple screws in, and call it good. I don't have to get too crazy with this. Okay, get you guys in here for a closer look. So you can see I got my top brace and then just a couple kickers to the back. That's just gonna give it a little rigidity, back and forth rigidity, so it doesn't just snap off one direction. I think this is gonna work. We'll get it positioned into place here, and then I will try and drop it down on the dolly, and if I need to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments. All right, I'm gonna give you guys the front row view here. If something gets out of whack, just yell at me, tell me to stop. I'm counting on you to be my eyes here. Slide this all the way over. Oh, my brace is not in the tunnel. Okay, well, it's gonna have to sit just like that, I think, to fit in the tunnel. We'll see how this works, because it appears either I'm not centered or the tunnel's not centered in the truck. Let's see what happens. Let's bring her down and see what happens here. Coming down slow. Okay, I'm gonna just check where I'm at here. Okay, good. I'm still up under the cowl. That's exactly what I want. Okay. Something is amiss. Yeah, I'm just way off centered. The tunnel is not, in this truck, is not centered, so that's interesting. It's offset to the driver's side. Okay, well, we're gonna retry here. Send her back up. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take these out. And I'm gonna take one of the back screws out. And we're gonna have to reposition these because, as I said, the tunnel on this side, it's offset. So there's more footboard for the driver than there is for the passenger. So the floorboard was actually hitting on my cross brace here. So I'm gonna reposition this so it's centered. We should be over a few inches here. Looks like I gotta maybe jack up the cab a little bit more. Okay, that should be a little closer to centered. I gotta bring the cab up just a hair more. So I can get the back centered. Come on up. You're gonna keep coming up. Should be pretty darn close to centered there. By the time it comes down, it's gonna be better. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's hold right there. So I've got the weight down. Okay, good. We are up under the cowl here. That's good. Hopefully it should swing a little more level now. Boom. The Eagle has landed. Sweet. Okay, so now I'll just take this brace up as high as I can take it, and we'll reinstall these screws. There we go, braced up. Oh, I feel so much better about that. It feels so much more solid on the dolly than how we had it before. Okay, we should be able to bring this on out now. Much better, much better. Before, with the floorboards all rotten in there, the front was extremely wobbly on the dolly. Plus, it's not perfectly level right now, but it's closer than it was. Before, the cab was really cocked down. So I could have got a better measurement on level, but we're close enough. I got daylight all the way back until we are touching the back brace back there. So the rockers are completely, and the floorboards are completely clear of my dolly now. Same thing on this side. You can see I got a gap all the way down there. That's really good. All right, I feel so much better now that we've got the cab on the dolly braced up. Just the way it was set up before, I was not real happy with it. Didn't feel safe. Felt like there's just too much strain on the rockers. And I'll actually bring you in here. Now that we've got it up, I went ahead and I took out the 5 remaining bolts that were in the body panel, the body mount panel. And I just want to give you a look. I've done nothing but remove the bolts. And look at this. This panel fell right out. Okay, this is the panel that holds the body down to the truck. Look at this, it just fell right off. So I can see here, it's got one panel that's booger welded on. That's the only thing holding it in right now. So that's kind of an indication of why I wanted to get this thing braced up and get the stress off the rockers and the floorboards. If you look down at the rockers here, you can see daylight. See my hand under there? This outer rocker is pulled, you know, a half an inch to some spots an inch. I can get my finger down in there, where those, I believe, should be tight together as they are back here in the back, and as it is up here where it's still attached, and the metal's all warped in from this inner rocker back to the outer rocker. Same situation over here on the other side. You know, see the rocker's tight back here actually, and then as you go forward, it gets as big, so big I can get my finger down in there. It's just completely separated. See daylight down there, see my hand? So I think the bottom half, the bottom portions of the truck are kind of mushroomed out. So this is going to be really critical for getting things realigned and put back together the right way to get all the weight and stress off of those components, so that when we cut the old stuff out, we can put the new stuff back where it needs to go. So that's going to be on the next episode. I'm running out of time here today. You know, I spent a lot of time this morning. I didn't film it, but I spent a lot of time just getting the shop in order. It was just kind of one of those days where I had a bunch of stuff I needed to get done, little piddly stuff that I didn't think you guys really want to see on camera. I got myself a 220 volt outlet put in. I've been wanting to do that for a while now, and because of that, I can now use my old Hobart Handler 210 welder here. The advantage of that is we're going to now be able to weld heavier stuff. You guys saw the International 1110 revival, and if you were paying attention to either my Instagram or the end of that video, you saw kind of what I have in mind for that truck. I want to do a budget airbag setup using the stock straight front axle, which is going to create a lot of challenges, but is something I think would be a really cool, unique build if I can pull it off. So we've got the heavier welder. We can do some heavier modification things. That's an inverter weld, I'm sorry, that is a transformer welder. The titanium welder I was using from Harbor Freight is an inverter. I've already fired that Hobart up. First time it's running like 8 years. I've had that welder forever. Built all my derby cars with it, run miles of wire through that welder. It was always good to me. But the next thing I think I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna lay out all of the new panels that I have for this truck, and I'm gonna take you through how I'm gonna go about reconstructing this truck, putting all the fresh metal in, and then we're gonna start fresh on the next episode, tearing this thing apart, then starting the reassembly process. Here it is, most of the metal that I'm gonna need to make this whole again. So I did end up pulling that panel out. It looks so much worse. Shockingly, just very little left of the original structure. These are kind of the main components that make up the bottom half of the cab. The only thing that was not yet able to source this outer rocker is just a slip-on panel meant to slip over the original. I don't like that. I'm not going to use that. If I need to, I'll use it to patch the original one, but I'm going to try and salvage as much of the original one as I can. If I can't, I'll have to rebuild it or do something like that. So starting at the front, this is the front bottom corner of the door jamb. So right up there, that's this piece right here in the cab. This is that outer rocker. Again, it's just a patch panel. It's like a slip-on patch panel. That is the rear door jamb corner. So that's this piece right down here in the corner of the door. This is the inner rocker. That goes from the back of the cab corner down here all the way to the front of the cab here. The floor pan, the body mount pan, and a cab corner back there. So my plan of attack is going to be to start with the inner rocker, get that in and weld it in solid, and then we'll build everything off of that. So next would probably be getting the outer rocker in place, followed by the door corners here. Then likely the floor pan would be next, followed lastly by the body mount panel. we have a lot of garbage to cut out of this truck. And what I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do here to keep at least some semblance of the original shape of this truck, I'm probably gonna buy some scrap steel and weld a brace across this door jamb so that this doesn't flex on me and move. We're gonna be separating basically the floor of the cab completely away from the side of the truck. And then we're pretty much gonna be cutting this cab off from like here and here down. Everything below that is basically getting replaced. Some of this back cab corner is fine, so I don't really need to replace that high on the cab corner, but we'll probably keep that patch somewhere around this body line or below. I have to get a better idea of how far up the rot comes on this side. But I really want to get this braced up first and then get all of this removed. Once this is braced up, I'll feel a little bit better that it's not going to flex on me. I can't move too much. I'll still have the inner brace here. If it's come around to the underside of the truck here, this brace that runs under the cab all the way up, over, around, and down. That's gonna help me locate the inner rocker where I need it. So that's gonna stay in. I'm not gonna cut that out just yet, but there is some patching I need to do up around the top lip of that panel. That inner rocker runs here. You can see that hole there in the inner rocker. And then all the way over here, we've got this whole section eaten out. But this goes all the way up. That panel comes all the way up under here. So I'm gonna have to cut all these spot welds out, get everything cut out on the inside and the outside, separate that, and then I'll use basically what we'll have is this top corner of the floor and that brace here to help me locate where that inner rocker goes back here. There's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of anything up here to help me locate that. So yeah, it's the more I look, the worse it gets kind of a situation. When I took this panel out up here, this is the body mount panel that was bolted in, only bolted in. This is all shot. All this floor pan shot. All of the side flanges here are gone, completely gone, almost all the way up the truck. So that's gonna be really ugly to patch. We're gonna have to figure that out. We'll have to get the rocker set in. We'll have to do a bunch of patching on the kick panel in there. And we're gonna have to leave something here to reference off of so that things don't get too out of whack. We'll have kind of this door post here where the hinges go. That'll stay in for now. So that'll help us maybe reference a little bit there, but eventually we're gonna have to get in here, patch a bunch of this up, patch the kick panel up on the inside. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. It's like so much welding. But I was really disappointed on the last video. I'm sure you guys could sense that in the video, how upset I was at how bad the truck is. But I'm a little more excited about it today. The more I slept on it, the more I thought about it. It's like, hey, I'm gonna learn so much on this truck. I'm gonna learn so much. I'm gonna learn new skills. I won't be afraid to tackle really any other repairs after I do something like this. This is way beyond what I had originally anticipated. I thought maybe rockers at most and a couple patches here or there. This is essentially the whole structure of the bottom half of the truck. So I'm thankful that the patch panels are available and I don't have to make a bunch of this crap. We're gonna live with the crappy fitment. Some of these things are good and some of them are not. It's kind of the same story as all the panels I got from the bed. All the same players involved as that last video I did about the comparison between AMD and LMC. Same brands and the same result really. Any panels that came from AMD, really top notch, heavy duty, thick, nice gauge material, the clean stampings, everything looks really good there. Anything that came from LMC, well, some of it's questionable. Some of it's really good, some of it's questionable. Actually, the cab corner I'm super thrilled with, and that came from LMC. This is super heavy duty. It's got really nice clean stampings in it. It's got a nice shape to it. Like it's gonna work really well with the truck. So I was happy with that, and that is just, you can see it's just branded LMC on there. I don't know who makes it for them, but they've got that branded as their own, and that's actually a nice panel. The floor pans, it's that CHL brand. They're kind of chintzy, cheap, thin, but they're way better than the holes that are in the floor now. So we'll live with it. Again, not a show truck. We're just trying to make it a solid truck. Once this truck's done, we'll have all the structural rust out of it. It'll last for a very long time. So it won't be perfect, but it will last us for quite a while. And then as things come up in the future, we'll be able to address those individually. We're doing the bulk of the work now. It will never be the end of the work. There's always going to be something to do on this truck. But that's okay, because we'll have really the majority of it out of the way to where we can drive the truck, enjoy it, and work on it as we go along. So that's the plan. These are the parts. The next episode is going to be the execution. We're gonna start pulling this thing apart. So on the next episode, I'm hoping to have the driver's side disassembled. We're gonna cut the floor pans back as far as we need to cut those. We're gonna get the inner structure, the inner rocker cut out. We'll have the outer, to do that, we'll have to remove the outer rocker. We'll have to remove those door corners. We'll have all that stuff cut out. And then we'll start looking at what it's gonna take to get the structure put back in this truck. So that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out in the shop today. It's kind of a quick, dirty one, but that's okay. More work to be coming up. You guys are gonna see a lot of repair. If you wanna know how to install floor pans, stick around. If you wanna know how to install rockers, stick around. If you wanna know how to install cab corners, stick around. If you wanna know how to install replacement body mount panels, stick around. You're gonna see all that in a number of episodes coming up. Boy, that's gonna be a lot of welding, but the nice part is, coming up in my schedule here, I'm gonna have a few consecutive days I can be out here in the shop. We are gonna hammer on this thing. We're gonna get as much work done as we can. I know some of this work is gonna be slow going, but I like having those consecutive days to get as much done and as much knocked out as we possibly can. If I can get everything just kind of loosely fit in, and then I can come back on those off nights when I'm off in between my regular Wednesdays and Saturdays, that's when I can sit down and just grind out the welding. If I can use those consecutive days to get the structure all tacked into place, that's gonna be huge for me. It's gonna be huge for the videos as well, because you're gonna get a lot more content in some of these videos coming up. They won't be so segmented. You won't be seeing so much repetition like we did on the bed of the truck. That's my hope. Stick around, find out how it goes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Just hit that little subscribe button right up there. Doesn't cost you anything. Oh, maybe it's down there. I don't know. On the screen, there's a subscribe button. If you enjoy the videos, please consider hitting that. It helps out tremendously. All my regular supporters, love you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching every week. I truly appreciate it. Remember, if you don't work on your project, it will not work on itself. Get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.